Welcome to Fireside Nets, the number one podcast for Brooklyn Nets news, information, reactions, predictions, and so much more. I'm Spen Harris. He's Pete. And a happy and healthy new year to all of our loyal listeners. Let's just hope that your new year started a little bit better than the Brooklyn Nets' new year. Pete?
That's a that, just I'm a little triggered right now, but I do want to say Happy New Year's. Thanks to everybody who's been watching us. We appreciate everybody and Happy New Year. But we got a lot to discuss. You want to jump straight into it?
No, I don't. Not yet, because it's not good. None of it's good. We're going to get to the Pelicans beatdown in a second. We'll talk about, why we think this team is awful right now. But before we get into any of that, I wanted to apologize for not doing a podcast over the holidays. Lot going on, but it's a tough time for everyone. Everyone's busy, but we are back. We're better than ever. Episode 180 of Fireside Nets. So thanks for everyone who rode with us. And listen, one of the big things that happened in my life, Pete, was my dog, Homer, one of my best friends in the world, my best friend in the world. He got sick, had to get emergency surgery. He's okay. He's recovering. But Pete, my dog out of surgery has shown more fight and more grit than this Brooklyn Nets team.
That's factual information. I've seen videos. I can definitely confirm that it's very true. Facts.
All right. So we're going to start with a simple question, Pete. Are you ready?
Yep. Let's go.
Why do the Brooklyn Nets suck at basketball right now?
I think there's about 2 or 3 things you could kind of look at. They're one bucket getter on the entire team. The offense is not suited for him. He can't play with the starting lineup. The size is an issue. The lineups are an issue. The coach may be an issue. There's just, I don't know. I just feel like we're in a sinking ship and we're just trying to plug all these holes. And if I had to kind of focus on one issue, I guess it would be the roster makeup and I guess strategy. Because how could you have a 22-year-old Cam Thomas and not be able to play him with your starting lineup?
Are you out on Vaughn right now?
I might be. I definitely might be. And to quote that football coach, the Nets are who we thought they were. They sucked on offense last year, and if you look at the numbers, they're about similar to what they are right now. It looks like at the beginning of the year, they had a nice little jump. They had healthier guys, and now the numbers are kind of returning to mean.
Yeah, but I hate that. I hate mean averages. I hate statistics. I'm an eyes guy, Pete. I use the eye test, right? And the eye test tells me that the Nets are not a good basketball team right now. And frankly, if this is what the organization bet on to be successful, this player combination with this coach, then maybe Josiah has to look at his GM. Because look, here are my thoughts on why the Nets are terrible right now. Too many things need to go right for this team to win ball games against competitive teams down the stretch. Think about it. Mikal Bridges has to play like a dog night in and night out. He has to be the alpha. Hasn't happened. Spencer Dinwiddie has to play consistent in that starting point guard role. He has been terrible as of late. He has just looked checked out offensively, defensively. By the way, just real quick with Jacques Vaughn before I forget, why was Spencer Dinwiddie covering Zion Williamson for any plays tonight?
Oh, don't.
Did you see that?
Don't get me started, bro.
Oh my God. Okay, timeout. So Dinwiddie has to play better. All right, he's been bad. Cam Thomas will have bad and good games. You know that he's going to go 0-9 because then next week he's going to go 10-13. That's just what he does. But you should be able to withstand a Cam Thomas bad game. You've done it in the past. It happens. Role players got to hit threes consistently. They haven't really had the chance to hit threes because ball movement has been so bad. And then finally, if you're going to start Mikal, Cam Johnson, DFS, Claxton, and who am I missing? Dinwiddie. If you're not going to stop, if you're not going to start Cam Thomas, and that's going to be your lineup, they have to be better defensively. Pete, this game was over before it began. The Pelicans hit every shot out of the gate. The Nets offense couldn't get anything going. So if your defensive lineup is not doing anything, then not starting Cam Thomas, it just doesn't make sense. So when you have all of these things that need to go right every single game, and you only have 1 to 2 of them happening, you are going to lose to a lot of good teams. And the problem is, Pete, if you're the Clippers, if you're the Mavs, if you're the Nuggets, the fucking Knicks, dude, they can rely on their stars to pick up the slack when the rest of the team is sluggish. The Nets don't have that right now. They haven't had that since Kevin Durant was traded. Record scratch.
Bro, you said it. Bro, you named there's just so many things wrong with this team. Bridges and Cam Johnson can't play together. There was this recent road trip we had Spencer Dinwiddie trying to play with Cam Thomas. And if you look at, I know you don't like the stats, but if you look at the advanced stats, that was our worst two-man lineup this whole season is those two guys playing together. But we keep on being force-fed it. It's not working. The defense is not working. And if we're not hitting our shots, it just turns into easy layups. We can't defend on the fast break. There's just so many problems. And you talked about this game was over with the Pelicans. It was 59-34 at the half. It's like, how can you come back from that? You can't.
You are one of the bigger Spencer Dinwiddie fans I know. And rightfully so. He's had incredible moments with this organization. Do you think he's checked out? Do you think he's kind of just looking at this situation and thinking, man, they're either going to trade me or they're just going to keep me for the rest of the season, but I don't have a future with this team?
I don't want to say that he's checked out, but I definitely think that he's not starting material. But the reason why I do think he is getting the minutes is because they don't have confidence in another ball handler. But that shouldn't be the only reason why he's starting. I will say this. He missed a lot of box outs today. I was really looking at that, trying to focus in on that because his shooting has been horrendous. He's shooting, the last 10 games, I have it like right over here. I think he's shooting under 40% in the last 10 games, under 40% from the field, 27% from three. Like, you just can't do this shit. I just can't believe a guy who's going to be a free agent is that checked out. So that's the only thing that I'm holding on to. You know what I mean? And like you said, I'm the biggest supporter of Spencer Dinwiddie, but I'm also a Nets fan first. And I don't know if he should be starting. I don't know if he should be having the role that he has right now. But the thing is, like, you can't have Cam and Bridges together. So what else are you going to do? At this point, I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know. And let's get into this Pelicans game because it's not just on Spencer Dinwiddie. Yes, he's playing terrible, but the rest of this team, they're just not playing together. They're inconsistent. Defensively, they seem out of rhythm. Offensively, they seem out of rhythm. So the Pelicans beat the Nets 112-85. The game was over before it began. Every Pelicans starter in double figures, and they played less than 30 minutes. Think about that. This was essentially, three-quarter basketball for the Pelican starters because that fourth quarter, none of them needed to play. Spencer Dinwiddie.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Spencer Dinwiddie and Cam Thomas were a combined 0 of 17 from the field. Each of them had 0 points. I don't know what else to say.
It's a disaster, just a total disaster of a game. And and you said it before. I wanted to bring this up before, talking about the game being over so early. First quarter under 20 points. Second quarter under 20 points. Scored 34 points at the half. They shot 28% from the field, 27% from three. New Orleans 50% from three, 52% from the field. But listen to this. They get out-rebounded 29-17. And you felt all those second chance points, right? Maybe it's just me, but that was frustrating as hell.
It seemed like every single rebound was got by Valanciunas, by Herb Jones, by McCollum got a few, Williamson. It just, you know what it seemed like, Pete? You ever go to a high school gymnasium and you see the varsity team and they're scrimmaging with the JV team and they're just giving it to them? We were the
Yeah,
JV team tonight.
absolutely.
We did not belong on the same court as the Pelicans. And just a side note, it shows you how much better the West is than the East.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right? Like what?
Oh, yeah.
Where do the Pelicans rank in the West?
I think they're 6th.
Okay, so they're 6th. They beat us worse than the number 2 or 3 seed in OKC did.
Yeah.
Just insane. I don't know. I don't know. We talked about Dinwiddie.
You go Bridges.
Yeah, look, I just think he's flat out failing as a leader.
Whoa!
Am I wrong? Look, he doesn't, not everyone gets upset and stomps their feet, and that's fine. I actually like that about Bridges, that he's not a crybaby, and he says he has to play better, and he admits it. But as the guy on this team, all right, and Vaughn deserves his fair share of blame, because as a coach, you have to have them come out a little bit more prepared and with a little bit more focus and energy, and they just didn't. And that's on Vaughn. But as the leader of this group, night in and night out, Mikal Bridges is just, when was his last moment? He had that game against the Hawks. He was him against Trae Young. He hit the dagger. He hit the game-winning shot. And what has happened? All right? Now, look, if he's better off as a 2 or a 3, fine. Like, I accept that. Okay, you don't want Chris Middleton running your team, right? Middleton shines because he has Giannis. So if Bridges is that guy, if he's Chris Middleton, so be it. But if that's the case, then start fucking Cam Thomas. Do something. Vaughn, you have to be a little bit more creative, because this lineup, whatever your sentiments are pregame, it's just not getting it done.
No. Bridges went 4 for 11. He put up 13 points. CJ was the only, I guess, could you say the only bright spot on the team? He led the Nets with 17 points, 6 of 12 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. And he's been really kind of the only shining star of this whole roster.
Yeah, I think I tweeted this.
On day day.
Well, we're going to get to Day'Ron Sharpe, because I fucking love that guy. But Cam Johnson has been the Nets' best player for the last 2 weeks, and that sentence should never be uttered. I like Cam Johnson. I like his game, but he's getting He's getting 18 a night, right?
Something like that. Yeah, he's doing well.
Your best player, it shouldn't be Cam Johnson. Nice stretch of basketball, but look, trade bait. Could be trade bait. Maybe a team overpays for him, gives the Nets some first rounders back. I don't know. If I'm a Lakers team, or if I'm, a Dallas team looking to make a move, do I think that Cam Johnson as the 3rd or 4th option might help Luka and LeBron with the way he's playing? Sure, why not? Right? That's what 18 points per game. I see that on the Nets, and I think 3rd or 4th guy on a contender in the West.
Absolutely. I think that's a fair statement to make. I just don't see it happening, considering they just re-signed him. Is it possible? Sure, right? But I will say this. If that does happen, that means we're pushing the red button and we're cleaning house. Like, the front office is gone. The roster is going to be reshaped. But listen, that's I feel like that's a whole different avenue for now.
Pete, why did the Nets stop playing Trendon Watford? I don't understand that. He's someone that can actually help this team's energy.
I have no idea. I could think of it like this. Maybe he's going to play a lot of minutes tomorrow. You had Royce playing 28 minutes. Dorian Finney-Smith, 20 minutes. By the way, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, trade bait, right? Dorian Finney-Smith, 1 of 6 from the field. Royce O'Neal, 0 for 6.
Well, that's what I'm saying with Cam Johnson. I don't necessarily want to trade Cam Johnson, but he's the only attractive piece right now. That's it.
I disagree with that. I think Bridges still has value. I think Claxton still has value. I think Dinwiddie still has value, sinking like a ship, but still has value. But I guess if you were going to get someone on the roster that you would overpay for that isn't Cam Thomas, Yeah, I guess if you're going by recent stats, yeah, you'd say him, sure.
You bring up an interesting one, Claxton. I do want to talk about this later because I want to go over the
We got a lot
roster
to
and
talk
see if
about.
we got a lot to talk about. Finishing up on this game, Day'Ron Sharp blocked Zion Williamson, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Shout out to Day'Ron. He was the only guy tonight, Pete, that I would go to battle for, in all honesty.
You didn't like him at the beginning of the year. I was on Team Day early, and you weren't feeling him. What happened?
Well, I'm a huge
I'm
Harry
just joking.
Giles guy,
I'm messing
as
with
you
you. I'm
know,
messing with
most of Nets Twitter knows. So when I talk about why I think the Nets can trade Claxton, it's going to be because we have Sharp and Giles. But outside of that, dude, this game, I got nothing left to say. I was just, it was
Triggered.
funny to me. It was funny to me, Pete, because the Nets already broke my spirits on that West Coast road trip. After that, I already knew that they were just not. They weren't that team.
What? Well, see, you say that, but that bothers me because we
Okay,
beat.
name me an important game they've won since that West Coast road trip.
Oh no, but this is the part. This is the issue that I'm having with you with this. Okay, you say that it broke you on that trip. Nets historically have not done well on the West Coast trips. One, two, they were in a couple of the games. Did you think they were going to beat the Kings? I really didn't think so. They could have beaten Golden State, but superstar's going to superstar, right? They beat the Suns. Uh, so I wasn't. I
You're
expect
forgetting
we said they
the
were going to
game
go.
that they lost.
We said what? We both said they were going to go 2-4, right, or something like that.
We
They were
said
one
two
game
and
away from
three.
that. So
Yes, Pete. But
that broke
Pete,
your
they lost
spirit.
to the Jazz.
Oh yeah, that's don't get. It's still heartbreaking. It still sucks.
Yes,
But
it broke my spirit. When I say
that
2 and 3, I expect 2 and 3, and I'm hoping for
that's
three
what it
and
was.
two. I'm not expecting 1-4. It broke my spirit because the only
It was
team
one
they've
game.
beaten, Pete, the only team they've beaten since that West Coast road trip is Detroit.
Detroit's good, right?
Okay. Now this conversation's off the rails. You're with me though. Like they're just they haven't been playing good basketball. Yes, Cam Johnson has had a good individual stretch, but it has not resulted in winning basketball. Claxton's been okay. He had a great game against OKC the other night, yet they obviously got smoked in that one too. So I just, yeah, my point is my spirit was broken way before this game. I know this game killed you. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. I want to forget this bullshit.
I don't understand. Could you also explain to me what Jacques Vaughn's usage of Cam Thomas has been? Because I don't get it.
I don't know. Uh, I try to like put myself in his shoes, and I'm like, okay, what could it possibly be that this guy's not getting any run when the team is struggling on offense? He's 22 years old, and the only thing that I could think of is that his style, which I think the eye test will tell us, doesn't kind of vibe with the offense. But when I get to that point, it's saying, then what are you doing as a coach? That your best scorer, your youngest like budding guy, you know what I mean, possible star, he's not made for this offense? Like, were you not prepared coming into the year? Well, what's going on here? Do you not like the guy? I don't
Could
get
be
it.
that. Could
I
be
don't
that.
get it.
His timeline is so weird, right? Starts the season on the bench, starts going the fuck off, finally gets to start. He started before he got hurt, right? So he gets hurt in that game early, comes back, gets his starting job back, but the Nets start to lose, and immediately he's the change that they make. They go to the same starting five that they started the season with when they weren't good.
I want to see you right now. Yeah, he started early in the year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm not really sure. And now he's playing with a second unit and he's playing with Dennis Smith Jr., who likes the ball in his hands. It's weird. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, no,
But
I'm gonna argue with that with Dennis Smith Jr. I think that's just to play. And by the way, he kind of has started most of the games. He has 20 starts this year. Let me see. There's only been like four games he hasn't started. But I think what your point is, and I agree with totally, is the minutes and role usage is very, very strange. And I think he plays his best ball when he's kind of how can I say this? Uh he has a passenger of Dennis Smith Jr. or Ben Simmons to help on the defense, and that's the stats do show that you get positive value out of those guys. I think him and Ben Simmons would work perfectly together, but where's Ben? So tough shit.
That's fair. Well, the Nets have to rebound quickly. They have a game in Houston tomorrow. If you're listening on the 3rd of January, that game is tonight. Pete, Jacques Vaughn just called you up and he says, I need advice on what to do tonight. What are you telling him?
Fire yourself. Hand in your letter of resignation. No, if I had to look at the lineup and make some changes, I would want Dinwiddie to the bench. But the thing is, I'm not going to start Dennis Smith Jr. and Cam and Bridges, as I said about 10 times this podcast already, doesn't work. So you just have to find a way to mix it up. I would maybe bench Clax out of all people and try to go with a small ball lineup. That would be my next thing. That's the only thing I can really think of. I would put Day over Clax, at least just to try it out, because Day's been playing well. Not that Clax has not been playing well, but it seems, at least with the advanced stats and the analytics, that Day seems to play very well with Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas and Spencer Dinwiddie. So I would try to mix them in together in a lineup or two.
I like that. I actually have something similar to that. So I would start Cam Thomas, Jalen Wilson, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Day'Ron Sharpe. So the two differences from normal are you're throwing Cam Thomas in there. I'm sorry, the three. Cam Thomas, Jalen Wilson, and Day'Ron Sharpe in for Dinwiddie, DFS, and Claxton. Okay, off the bench. What's up?
No, go ahead. You finish. I'm sorry. I'm triggered right now, but go ahead.
Off the bench, I would have Clax, DSJ, Whitehead, Watford, and Royce. Give Dennis Smith Jr. I'm sorry. Not Dennis Smith Jr. Give Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith a night off.
So you think they're unplayable right now?
No. I'm just telling Jacques Vaughn to give them. Yeah, one game. Hey, Jacques, Dinwiddie seems tired out there. Give him the night off. Dorian Finney-Smith banged up a little bit. Give him the night off. Play the young guys. Play Day. Play Jalen. Get Cam Thomas going. Obviously, this lineup you have with these 5 vets, it's just not working. So let the young guys play. You're going to trade everybody anyway. I like Jalen.
Jalen Wilson
because he's tenacious and outside of Day'Ron, he's been playing with almost the most energy when he gets time. That's why.
I do have
reward a guy that gives you effort. That's what I'm trying to say.
His mom liked one of my posts on Twitter, so shout out to her and thank you, Jalen Wilson's mom, and thank you, Jalen Wilson. So yeah, so I respect that, but I don't know if I'd start him, but I definitely would give him minutes. I think that's the only thing I see differently through your lens. I don't understand why start.
Respect mothers everywhere. Love you, mom.
Shout out moms.
Shout out moms. All right. Last 2 weeks for the Nets. This is going to be a quick recap because we're not going over any of these games in depth. This was also after the Nets 1-4 road trip. So here we go, Pete. Lost to the Knicks. One word reaction.
Disheartening, dismantling. They lost by 19, and it just sucked. Gross. You never want to lose to the Knicks.
My word is gross. All right, lost to the Denver Nuggets.
Tough, man. So close. If I get like 2 words, so close. They lost by 5. I really feel like they could have pulled it out, but superstar's gonna superstar. Shit happens, right?
Yeah, I have a phrase for this game. 2 are better than none. You get it?
No, I don't. Help me out.
They have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. The Nets have.
Jesus Christ.
All right, so let's move on. Finally, get to the game against Detroit. Nets fans were expecting to lose one of these games, and shout out to the Nets for giving us some joy and beating Detroit in 2 games. I don't think either win was easy. Like Detroit was in both games; they had their moments, but the Nets, they get a victory against a team that 90% of the NBA, or I guess 98% of the rest of the NBA beats on a nightly basis.
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly. Especially the second game, I thought was really close. Second game in Detroit.
We get into the most controversial game or controversial loss of this stretch, the loss against Milwaukee. It seemed like the Nets were playing the Bucks hard, Pete, and then Jacques Vaughn does not play the starters down the stretch. He in fact goes deep into his bench and pretty much throws this game in the fourth quarter. What did you think of that decision?
Some people are going to shit on him for it, but I'm going to say good job. And I'll tell you why. These guys in the locker room, the coach knows what's going on. The players know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. And if I had to take a guess by that, if for him to do that is telling me that these guys are just gassed, totally gassed, and you're just trying to find any room to get them some time off that you can get. And Milwaukee, good team, probably not going to beat them. It sucks, but it was the second game of a back-to-back. They were in Detroit the night before. They won by 6, close game. Then you have to come back, play Milwaukee. It's tough.
Okay. My response to that is your best player is known for being the Cal Ripken Jr. of the NBA.
And that's not good anymore.
It's not good anymore. But don't you think that he's going to have a problem with not playing down the stretch, which he illustrated in the post-game press conference?
Well, the numbers
that bothers me. Like you should be able to trust your guy. You know, if LeBron's coach, who's Darvin Ham, if Darvin Ham tells LeBron, "Hey, I'm not going to play you down the stretch because I want you to rest," LeBron's not accepting that. I know Mikhail's not LeBron James, but he is the guy on this team. He should at least him and the coach should be on the same page.
I agree up to a point, but then if you have guys not listening to the coach, then they're like, this guy's a trouble. This guy's, doesn't listen to the coach, blah, blah, blah. And then it gets leaked to the media, and then it's this whole thing. So, you know what? It should have been talked about beforehand, right? That's kind of stupid and very silly that it wasn't. And seeing stuff like that Mikal Bridges being unhappy with it, that just shows you that there's a disconnect.
Hold on to that disconnect thought. We have the loss to Washington. One word to describe this.
My God. Horrific.
Kuzma. All right. And then we have
Jesus.
We have a loss to the Thunder. I don't know. They're just a better basketball team.
Yeah.
There really isn't one word to describe this. Chet Holmgren, by the way, fucking ridiculous at basketball.
You think he's the next KD?
Yes. I think, I'll tell you this, because I was telling my pops this. I think the difference between him and Victor Wembanyama is Holmgren knows his game. Like, Holmgren knows his money shot is that mid-range shot, like KD. But he's strong, so he can take you to the hoop, and he's deadly from beyond the arc. He can step back, too. His basketball IQ's high. He can make the pass to the cutter. He kind of does everything KD does, and he can attack the post. Now, granted, I got to see him do it consistently, he for a little bit, but I just with Wembanyama, his game's kind of all over the place, right? He plays in the post a little bit, but he doesn't really have a post game. He plays on the perimeter, but he's not really beating guys off the dribble. So like he's someone who has to sort of figure out his game, whereas I think Holmgren already knows his game and he just has to polish his skills.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. You summed it up perfectly with them too. They're both, I think both guys, if you're starting if you did a draft of who you would want to build a team around, I definitely think that both of those guys would be one of the first selections for sure. So you can't go wrong.
Also, if you want a dark horse MVP candidate, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a dark horse for MVP.
Yeah.
If the Thunder get the 1 seed, he could potentially win it.
I believe you're right.
All right, Pete. Before the vibes were absolutely murdered tonight by the Brooklyn Nets, there was some chatter on Twitter for most of the day about trading for a potential Cleveland Cavalier by the name of Donovan Mitchell. And what I noticed was Nets fans are kind of divided on this. There are a lot of Nets fans who are like, absolutely, bring him in. Donovan Mitchell, why wouldn't you make that trade? He'll immediately make this team better. And then you have other fans who are like, hey, hold on to the picks. Don't settle for a guy who really hasn't won in the playoffs in Utah, in Cleveland. let's hold on to our picks and see what happens in the draft and whatever. So which side of the fence are you on? Are you on the Donovan Mitchell side, or are you on the trading all our vets and holding on to our draft picks?
Man, there's gonna be such a like bitch ass answer, but I would really want to say it really depends on the deal itself. Like Donovan Mitchell, he's putting up 27 points. Let me see, I got it right over here. 27 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 6'3", 215. How old is he?
Ooh, he's young. He's like 25, I think.
Like, I look at that, and if you had a deal that you knew for a fact that he'd re-sign with you, I would lean towards maybe making it, because I'll tell you why.
27.
I don't know if the whole Cam Thomas and Donovan Mitchell backcourt is something you'd want to be looking at defensively, but man, imagine Mitchell, Cam Thomas, and Bridges. That's a nice little core right there to kind of build around. Would you trade now? Question: do you trade a Cam Thomas for a Mitchell, and you get to keep more of your picks?
So Donovan Mitchell's 27, by the way. How old is Cam Thomas?
22.
22. All right. So Mitchell's 5 years older than Cam Thomas. I would make the trade. I'm someone who pulls the trigger. I don't want to hold on to draft picks. You know who Donovan Mitchell is. You don't know who these draft picks are going to be. You have the assets to make the trade. You can trade for Mitchell and keep some of your young, like, you're not going to give everybody up. You still have Clowney coming up as a development player. You still have a guy like Jalen Wilson, who's definitely going to see time in the second half as guys start to, the season starts to wear on older guys' bodies. I would absolutely make the trade if you're Sean Marks. Why not? And for the people whose argument is, well, didn't you learn from Kevin Durant or James Harden or Kyrie Irving? Are we never going to trade for a star again?
This is how shit gets done. Like, let's be honest. It's very rare you're going to see a guy not get traded to a team, right? Everybody knows if you're going to have a free agent coming at the end of the year, most teams are not going to be like, you know what? I'm going to let him walk for free. This is how you're going to get guys in the future. This is what it is.
And
you're not going to have a Kevin Durant be a free agent again.
Right.
Not again, but like it's going to be a long time.
And Joakim Noah said it best, like 10, 15 years ago, where he's like, this is Cleveland. Like, do you want to live in Cleveland? Do you want to play in Cleveland? Like, that's where Donovan Mitchell's head is at. Donovan Mitchell is not having fun playing basketball. They're not winning in the East. They're the 5th or 6th best team at best. And you're in Cleveland. So yes, I understand why he'd want to leave and potentially play in Brooklyn with his friend, Mikal Bridges. All right, Pete, we're at the segment where you and I get to put on Sean Marks's cap and we play Who Do We Move and Why? The favorite Nets game show. So, Pete, let's start with you. If you're going to trade anyone, I don't even know who you're getting back. I'm just talking about getting off this team. Who are you trading?
I can only pick one?
No, you can pick several. You can pick as many as you want.
I'm going to trade Spencer. I'm going to trade Clax. And I'm going to trade Royce. I'm going to trade all three, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
They all have one thing in common. They're going to be free agents at the end of the year. Spencer Dinwiddie's not going to re-sign with us, and I don't think most Net fans want him back anyway. And if you can get anything back at this point, why not get it back? But let's face it, sinking value. So I'm going to move on to Clax. This is where it gets interesting. Possibly all defensive player of the year last year. Great numbers. Analytics love the guy. This year he gets hurt early. And we kind of knew coming into the year that he's going to get a big deal. My mindset is with this. If we're losing with him, we could lose without him and not have to pay him the contract and give your guys Day and Giles a good look. Like, let's face it, the defense sucks. So if he's like, what's the difference? What's the difference? And he's going to have some value. Imagine one of those teams in the West saying, we can add an all defensive player to our roster. I think someone would pony up, considering he's going to be a free agent, so it's going to be smaller value. I still think you can get something back. And maybe not Donovan Mitchell, but maybe you get somebody else as part of a deal with that. You put a Claxton, draft picks, maybe Dinwiddie if someone wants a Dinwiddie. I could see like, I don't know, like the Lakers maybe saying, you know what, Spencer Dinwiddie, that might be a good fit for us to kind of, reinforce the roster. His value is a little bit lower. You go around to get those draft picks or whatever, ship it somewhere else, get a DeJounte Murray, get a maybe a Donovan Mitchell. I don't know, but that's where my mindset is at with those two. And Royce, if you could get back a first rounder, I would do it in a heartbeat. And even though he's a locker room favorite, at least the Jock Vaughn favorite, you have to get something back. But this is where I'm going to get a little sneaky with you, okay? You didn't list this guy, Lonnie Walker. If Lonnie Walker comes back and healthy, he's what, top 5 in 3-point shooting? You can't tell me that a team wouldn't take like Lonnie Walker for 2 second rounders or something like that. We don't have any draft picks this year. So if we can get a second rounder for a guy who's not going to be back next year, you got to do that deal.
All right. I like those options. I'll agree with you on Clax and Dinwiddie for all the reasons you said. And it just seems like those two guys, they've been checked out for a minute. Dinwiddie had his moments. That seems to have come and went. Claxton just seems like he's been being outplayed by Day'Ron Sharpe. And I don't think that Sharpe is a better player than Claxton. I think that he's been giving more of an effort when he sees the court. So that's why I agree with you on those two guys. The only other two guys I can think of who I'd like to see traded, I do think teams will overpay for Cam Johnson right now. So if I'm the Nets, I know they gave him a new contract. I know he's buddies with McHale, but he's expendable. Like I think that he's someone who, if a team's going to overpay and you're the Nets, I would absolutely pull the trigger there. And then Dorian Finney-Smith is a guy I know the Lakers are interested in. Like they're on record being interested in him. I'm sure the Mavs would want to bring him back to help Luka and Kyrie. I think you can get decent value back for DFS. I think what wasn't the rumor last year? Like he was going for 2 firsts or something. That was the value.
Yeah.
So, and I think he's played really well this season.
Yes.
So yeah, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and the two guys you've mentioned. That's what I would do if I were Sean Marks.
What type of deal would you have to take for a Cam Johnson to be traded? Do you want to just offload the contract, or is there someone in mind that you say, you know what, I need a player, I don't want just picks?
Well, if you're going to trade for Donovan Mitchell, like Cam Johnson for me would be in that trade. You don't need Cam Johnson if you have Donovan Mitchell's added offense. Otherwise, if it's not Mitchell, yeah, just offload him for a ton of, like, maybe you can get what, two firsts for Cam, you think?
Maybe. It depends on how people determine the value of his contract. If you think that he's on a good deal, maybe you get more. If you hate the contract, less.
That's fair. That's a fair point. I don't know. I look at a team like the Pelicans tonight. I think if they could use one more scorer, they'd be like a top 4 team.
Can we get Alvarado?
Ooh, we didn't even talk about Grand Theft Auto tonight. My goodness.
He's from Brooklyn, by the way.
So he's such a smart, high IQ player, and he does the little things. He reminds me of Barea the year with the Mavs, but I love that his signature move is just picking people's pockets. He did it to Royce tonight. That was
okay. That pissed me off. I'm going to tell you why. Because these guys, they watch the game film. They say, watch this little motherfucker. He's going to come behind you and steal the ball. And then it happens. Like, what the fuck?
Shout out to Alvarado, man. Guys, you got to respect the hustle of a player like that. All right, Pete, before we finish the podcast, we have to talk about, that step brother that we really don't ever speak about on the show. You know what I'm talking about, Pete. It's like when your friend starts dating someone and you have to surmise in your head if that person is mildly attractive or not. And you don't really want to tell your friend because it's going to be weird. The New York Knicks traded RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, I think a 2nd round pick for OG Anunoby, Precious Achua, and Malachi Flynn. Anunoby being the headliner of that trade. He looked really good in their win the other night. I forget who they were playing. Do you remember?
Yeah, they killed the Timberwolves.
Timberwolves. They beat the first place team in the West. Anunoby looked good. He fouled out. I think he finished with 17 points. Pete, what do you think of this trade for the Knicks?
as you guys may or not know, shameless plug, my podcast is called The Only Net Fans You Know. So I literally am the only Nets fan in my kind of group of friends, I guess you could say, whatever. And I'm surrounded by Knicks fans. So obviously we're going to talk about this deal. And I explained it like this. I think it's a great deal for them right now. I think it's a horrible move for the long term. If you believe that RJ Barrett is going to be that guy and could keep on doing what he did for Team Canada and could show you that he could put up 20 plus a night, then, you kind of got screwed for a guy who's going to be a free agent and you're probably going to have to overpay. But my main thought of it was this. This guy fits perfectly right now with the Knicks. And man, they got him for almost nothing. If you think about it, like draft pick wise, just a second rounder. They were talking about Anunoby getting like 3 first rounders from Portland a couple months ago, maybe like a year ago. When we were talking with them about a KD trade, or that was mentioned that he might be coming back as one of the main pieces, and then you get him for like almost no draft picks. That means you must really like RJ Barrett.
If you're Toronto, you mean?
If you're Toronto, of course, yes. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I look at this and think, is OG Anunoby a better player than RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley combined? And I don't think he is.
I think he's a better fit.
Okay, I think
And
that's
I love
fair.
Quickley, by the way. I should say that. I love Quickley. I love Emmanuel Quickley.
I think Quickley's a monster. I think in the right situation, Quickley can average 25. Like and an efficient 25.
Could he do it for the Nets?
Can he do it for the Nets? Absolutely. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Imagine if it were him and like Cam Thomas was our backcourt. Like, yeah, they each score like 30 a night. Emmanuel Quickley is a better player than Spencer Dinwiddie right now.
I'd say so. I'd have to say
You'd agree, right? Okay.
Yep.
No, I don't know. I know Anunoby's a nice 3-and-D guy. He's like a as premium a 3-and-D player in the NBA as it gets. And he can create off the dribble when necessary. He's got an okay mid-range game, although I don't think he shoots a lot of mid-range shots. Quickley was so important for the Knicks. And when RJ was right, the Knicks were great. The only issue was RJ was not right all the time. He was inconsistent. He would have bad stretches of basketball. So I get it from that angle. And Anunoby does fit better than Barrett. Now they're just missing a backup guard. Like, that's the issue. Now they don't have someone to run their second unit.
Do they have Dante?
Yeah, they have DiVincenzo, but I think Dante. Randall kind of runs like a point forward in the second unit, or at least he did the other night. I don't think the Knicks are done. I think there's a move out there to be made. I think Leon Rose is going to be extremely aggressive. And, you can't beat Milwaukee and you can't beat Boston with this 3 of Brunson, Randall, and Anunoby, but you get one more guy. And all of a sudden Anunoby becomes who Tobias Harris was that season when it was Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Jimmy Butler. That Knicks team, I'd be terrified of. And who that second or third guy would be, I don't know, but he's out there.
I agree. I think the Knicks, like I said, a very big win now sort of move. And like you mentioned, the East looks a little weak. It's not crazy to say if the Knicks add one more player, they have all these draft picks they did not need to use for this trade, that they could, really make a little bit of a run. It's not crazy to me.
Is Zach LaVine a name that makes sense in New York? I know Knicks fans hate that, but is he someone he doesn't put them over the edge?
I don't think so.
Then I don't know who's out there. Like then I really don't know.
We don't know.
It's just
we don't know until Shams tweets it out, right? We don't know.
The report was that the Knicks aren't going to overpay for Mitchell. That was something along those lines was the report.
DeJounte Murray supposedly is available. That's
the guy that I know Knicks fans want. He'd be a nice fit with Brunson. DeJounte Murray.
He would.
And the Hawks aren't very good this year. All right, Pete, let's wrap it up. Look, this might have been a depressing Nets podcast, but it was a podcast, Pete, that the fans needed to hear. And listeners of the show need to understand that when your team is performing this poorly, you have to call them out. You have to be honest. Okay, you don't coddle. And you don't say, oh, there's other days. No, you give them shit when shit is deserved. Any final words for the listeners out there?
Yeah, I got an episode of my podcast, The Only Net Fans You Know, coming out with Mike Biseglia later this week, possibly around Thursday. Check that out. And Happy New Year. Let's keep our thoughts somewhat positive as we can be at this point. And, believe in Sean Marks.
If I don't know if I can say that anymore, but I will say this. I do still think this team is capable of playing good basketball. I just don't know. It's just not going to be with this roster. There's going to need to be some things changed by the trade deadline. And we will know in the next week or so the trajectory of this team for the rest of the season. We'll know in a week.
Absolutely.
All right, Nets fans, take it easy, and thanks for listening to another edition of Fireside Nets with Spen and Pete. As always, catch you on the Fireside.
Later.